This is the Amy Edwards Show, and I'm your host, Amy. This show is here to help all of us live our best life and feel amazing at absolutely every age. We focus on transformation and empowerment through practical tools, strategies, habits, and mindset shifts that will help you unlock your potential, build self-love, and embrace your unique journey. We'll cover everything from health and wellness to personal growth and spirituality with inspiring guests and real conversations. So if you are ready to level up, break out of your comfort zone, and make lasting changes, you're in the right place. It's never too late. In fact, some of your best days haven't even happened yet. Let's get to it. Love this moment and make the next one even shinier. I'd like to just light a little Palo Santo and set our intention and just slow down our breathing just a little bit. Right here in this moment, and for everyone else that's listening too, just to slow down. I always do this with my guests, but now I'm going to start doing it in the episode too, just because I feel like, even when we're listening to podcasts and stuff, we get kind of like, I don't know, rushing around from one thing to the next. Would you like some? There you go. Mm-hmm. And I like to just take a moment with you and close our eyes and just be grateful that we're here in this moment and that our words reach anybody that needs to hear them, and that we're divinely guided in all these moments. And I'm just very grateful to be here with you today, Rina.
Thank you.
Yes. So welcome to the show, Rina Trevi. You are a vulnerability and intimacy guide. You are also a Shibari master artist. And I have had the privilege of your Shibari master talents. And I'm so excited to talk to you today about everything that you do. And I want to focus some on Shibari and what it can bring to people. And I am so happy to have met you. You are such an interesting person and have led such a very cool life. So I don't know what we did right to have you land in Austin, Texas for a while, but how wonderful is that?
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be in your cosmic studio here because I feel like it matches our theme with what we're going to talk about.
It does. What does that mean to you? Like, I do feel like when I was in the Shibari space with you, there was like this element of cosmic oneness, Tell me what it means to you when you say that.
It means being able to access different dimensions of life, not just being here in this physical body, me as a person, talking to you as another person, but expanding. And for me, Shibari journeys are a blend of my spiritual practice together with certain physical skills that I have. So for me, it's a deep journey into yourself, which expands you into multitude of realities. And this is our possibility to connect way deeper than if it was me, Rina, coming from this country, and then it's you, Amy, coming from here. Like, it's beyond our human conditioning. And this is why it feels quite cosmic, although I haven't used that word before to describe it. I'd say multidimensional.
Yeah, it really is. And I think that's one of the things that surprised me when I did it is I didn't expect it to be such a meditative experience for me. I don't know what I was expecting. Maybe something more sexual, maybe something, I don't know, like the only bondage situations I've ever been in were sexual. And so I guess I was like linking those in my mind. But for me, this was more, it had sensualness, but it was way more meditative.
Yeah, Shibari has a lot of preconceived notions and ideas, and it's really common that people think it's only sexual or it's sadistic. Like, it's either either you are a masochist for being tied up or you want to have sex, and there is nothing else. So I love to break those notions, to say, hey, it can be this, but there's so much more.
At what point did your world open up to that? Because were you preconditioned the same way and then you had these things open up?
Well, when it comes to Shibari, just like many people, all I saw was like Japanese women tied up in some really acrobatic positions and men staring at them. So that's all I knew about this. And I was not naturally drawn to it because that's all I saw. And I didn't know there was a lot more potential. But in my life journey, I've been exploring with power exchange for quite some time. Since I was a kid, I was designing games of different punishment and different submission, control, surrenders. It was just intuitively there for me. I would come up with some edgy kind of games, like one child.
Like with your friends?
Yeah, I would I would blindfold someone, tie someone's eyes, and then I would take them for a walk, and then I would just drop them, and they have to find me, things like that. I would have all kinds of creative, wild games. Other children loved me for that because I was the most creative. Yeah. And there were always some edges and some playfulness, some element of unpredictability, excitement, thrill, just challenge, and all of that was always thrilling for me. Other kids would play with dolls, being a mom and having a child. For me, that dimension was never my thing. I always wanted to explore the thrill of getting out of comfort zone and being in some situations where you don't have a script on how to behave.
That is wild. Wow. You were always led for some sort of different work.
Yeah. And I never understood why as a child. I never analyzed. I just presented these different games to other children and they were on board. And that was fun. I always had the most captivating experience as a child playing games. And then as I came to America,
because you were in Russia. Yes.
Yeah. I grew up in post-Soviet Russia, and it was a lot of restrictions on sexuality, on self-expression, on creativity, on women in general. So my possibilities were limited, and my mom was amazing human who was sending me to America. And but initially in America, I went for American dream. I went to get university degree, and I worked in the office, and that didn't feel right.
I can't imagine you working.
Yeah, I was falling asleep and sabotaging everything all the time. And then I met a guy who introduced me to the world of professional domination, and that felt wow, this is thrill, this is adventure, this is exciting, this is true, this is real. These people come in the office suit, and then they take their suits off and reveal their truth, not just physically, but also what they're emotionally longing for, what their fantasies are, what their fears are. So that would become a lot more interesting. And this is why the word vulnerability stood with me, as I felt always drawn to people's vulnerable places. That's the most interesting part about humans are their fears, their tears, their desires, their fantasies, their longings, and how much more in common we actually have than it looks like on the surface. So thanks to this friend, I became a professional dominatrix. And that was a decade-long career in New York City where I explored myself to the moon and back in so many different realms, fetishes, fantasies, role play. I was hired to play a KGB spy, because I'm Russian.
I love that so much.
With so many different fantasies, explorations. It would be sometimes more erotic domination, other times more me being a sadist and torturing someone. So everything, of course, very consensual, very safe, but at the same time, so many different dimensions of being human and exploring yourself in so many ways. And towards the end of my career, this is when I met my master, Shibari master, Bodhi. He was really incredible at the way he introduced me to Shibari as an art of healing. It was a 5-hour journey I surrendered to. And this 5 hours, it was like ayahuasca journey. It was stronger than any psychedelic I tried. It took me to the deepest places in me, and I felt the safest to visit them. And this is when I remember that phrase of Carl Jung that became quite important in my life, that you are not becoming enlightened by chasing figures of light. You are making darkness conscious.
That's so cool.
You're bringing light into the dark places of yourself.
Yeah.
And in my journey, in my spiritual journey, and in my BDSM journey as well, this is where I found this to be true experientially, that I am becoming more whole, more happy, more harmonious with myself and others when I'm not afraid to go to the places that are scary, that are unacceptable in me, that are vulnerable in me. And I found that Shibari offers the best container for that. because ropes are ultimately a cocoon where I can experience myself fully, where I can be free to be myself. So it's interesting that we do need certain container or certain parameters, certain restrictions to be free.
Yeah, it's like a metaphor for life, really. You know, when we have discipline, when we have boundaries even, we're able to open up more and be more free.
Yeah, like going to meditation retreats, right? Meditation retreats are full of rules. And they're really strict, right? You have to wake up at this time, sit on the cushion for 1 hour without moving, then 1 hour walk, and then another hour of sitting, and then another hour of sitting. So you are restricted. But that's when people open up to higher dimensions of consciousness, because they have those parameters. They are not wrapped in decision making, like, because, you know, so much freedom, we can decide so much, and it's beautiful. But sometimes we need those moments of like being bound into ourselves.
Yeah. I found it really interesting too to find a space as somebody who is currently sober, not, you know, I'm not doing any plant medicines, nothing, alcohol, anything, and to find different ways to open that up besides meditation, you know, but there's breath work, and then there's things like this that, like, I think there's probably a lot of people that would say yes to ayahuasca or yes to mushrooms, but not to this, you know. This is like a further different way of pushing your vulnerability. Do you think that's true?
It depends actually on certain people, like types and comfort zones. You know, some people just so habituated and exploring psychedelics, and it's great. Some people like go for breath work, and then some people go for tantric sexuality, and that's normal for them. And other people feel adventurous in this way. So I feel like different characters are drawn to different methods. Just like in spiritual journey, some of us need to do qigong movements, and some want to sit on the mat and not move at all, and some want to isolate and go into a cave, but others want to stay in the world of business and power dynamics of real life. And some want to be in a family reality. So I feel like it's just different ways we are conditioned is predisposing us to certain methods we are attracted to.
Totally. Yeah. I'm naturally just really curious about things. And so I was just really curious, like, what can it bring to my life, and what will it open up in me? And personally, I loved the binding, not having to make decisions. Like you did everything. It was just such, and your touch and everything about that was so special and beautiful and comforting. And anyway, I really valued the whole experience so much. And ours was what, 3 hours or
about
3 hours. So if anyone's curious, you know, it can vary, but it was a really safe space. But for me, I think that I get tripped up sometimes when I have to make too many decisions, or I feel like I'm doing it wrong. And it took that away and freed me up in a whole different way.
Yeah, it's a very common feedback that rope take away that consistent thinking, because often our thoughts go in the loops and we kind of constantly recycling the same directions of thinking. And then there is a need to really stop. And that's why you say it's a very meditative experience, because, you can have all kinds of sensations, emotions, like you can be hanging upside down, or maybe you're actually sitting in a comfortable position while tied up. But the key point is that your mind is open and free.
Yeah.
Like it's being free from yourself and certain habits of thinking, deciding, analyzing. And then this gives space for something new to blossom, like a fresh way of thinking. You know, you still can start thinking, but it will be something fresh, born in the moments, in the present moment.
Yeah. How many Shibari journeys have you done yourself? Do you even know? Too many to count?
Too many to count, it's true. I wish I counted. Sometimes I would be curious to know myself, but it's been already about 5 years since it became my full-time profession. And I've been like a few hundred probably at this point. Yeah.
Wow. Do you think, what difference have you seen in yourself? Like what transformation have you seen personally, like in the things that you were just talking about your mind, your decisions, your ability to manage life, your own happiness?
What changed in me since I started giving journeys? That's the question.
Or either one.
Receiving journeys. Well,
either
my
one.
transformations, they happen when I receive. When I give, it's a lot more about my connection with the source and with others. It's not necessarily my personal transformation, although it can be, because sometimes the journey that my client has is similar to the journey that I'm walking on. And sometimes we kind of ride the same frequency, the same wave, and I can feel through them something that feels alive in me, and we can have the same journey. So yeah, it can be transformational. I feel like my attunement to myself and other has shifted over the years. My journeys, I feel like they became a little on a gentler side, like to see how can we do a least impact on the body, least challenge on the body, but go deeper in the states of consciousness.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah,
I like that, because
to be gentler, to kind of have some mercy for the body, because getting outside of comfort zone like that, it's always takes a certain toll on the body. Just like, doing psychedelics, they're relatively safe, but still they are challenging our nervous system. And so I feel the same about Shibari journeys, like not pushing people to their furthest they can go, but instead finding gentler ways for them to experience something they came for.
Yeah, I did some hanging stuff and suspended, or what do you call it? And I'm glad I did it, because I would have been too curious about what that would be like. So I'm really glad I did it. But I've discovered that I didn't really need that. And the thought of like, how far can you go just sitting there? That's what I would do if I did it again. And that was so interesting to me. Like, but it is hard on your body. I have some marks still, believe it or not. I mean, I heal slower now that I'm in my 50s. But yeah, I mean, like, I still have a few, like, there's one right there.
Rope kisses. I
still have some rope kisses. But I'm glad. You know what? I like touching them and remembering. And I'm glad I did the suspension. So I'm really glad I explored that part, but there's so much you can do without like pushing your body in those ways. Just fascinating.
Yeah, I feel like whenever we are going deep to self-exploration, we need to have mercy for the vehicle that carries us.
Yeah.
Yeah, even in meditation retreat, I had a teacher who told me, hey, I see you worked hard. Skip an hour today. Take a break. And I feel there's a lot of similarity around people who are really pushing different like ways of, expansion, growth. And I feel that's one thing we need to be reminded, like, hey, we also need to have some mercy, sometimes to slow down when we have a choice to push things harder, or take a break, choose to take a break. So I feel that's been the same with me with Shibari, coming from a background of being a dom who tend to push limits for myself and others. Like I slowly come to a place of finding ways. How can we do it gentler? How can we find a way to, to find the same result with the least challenge for the body, mind, emotions, nervous system?
I bet being a dom before feeds your art, your Shibari art, in a totally different way than other people, and it seems like it would be a really good thing.
Yeah,
for it.
It's great because I have that confidence, like that top space that I started to access being a dom gave me that feeling that I cannot do it wrong. And that confidence.
Shit, that's so good.
It's really sexy. I find it sexy too in others. It's so interesting to speak about myself in this way, but that's because I find the similar confidence really sexy in others, really beautiful, because whenever I have a guide, I want to have them feel in that place where they're not doubting themselves. They're not overly checking in on me. Are you sure you're okay? Am I doing it right? Like when they just ride their flow and they just know they got it. And I love to access that place in myself because I naturally grew up in the place where women specifically kind of always second guessing themselves, not sure if they're doing it right, like always worrying about making mistakes. And I have that in me that, oh my God, what if I screw this up? Like this thing in life in general, like doubting, second guessing, like all these thoughts about me. Maybe I could do it better. But once I'm in my flow, in my zone with Shibari, this is when I don't have that. And I feel like that's what allows this magic to happen, because I go in that place that I cannot go wrong. Like, mistakes can happen, and still they are divinely orchestrated, even if they happen. And that place of confidence, I feel like that's what allows my partner to surrender deeper.
So well said. And you're right. That is so self-doubt is unsexy. Like, and I can feel it in myself when I'm in that space. And like I know that I'm not channeling that strength and that divinity and the truth, which is you can't do it wrong. Like, that is the truth. And if we would just open up to that, no? Isn't that true intimacy? How would you define intimacy?
Intimacy, feeling, experiencing, and welcoming everything that is. That's a broader definition, but starting from yourself, welcoming everything that is already there. And that allows to open up from a more spacious place where everything is welcome. And then from that spacious place, you are beyond doubts, beyond wants and needs and how it looks like and what will people think.
Like acceptance.
It's like a total deep acceptance. Unconditionally. Whatever is right. And like it's easier to start from yourself and your own body, like how everything feels right this moment. Am I at war with myself, or am I accepting myself? And then it goes beyond, and then it's easier to interact with others this way. And this is when true intimacy is possible between two humans.
Yeah. So maybe Shibari like feeds that self-love and get you into a more unconditional place so you're able to have more of that intimacy with others.
Yeah, being tied up, it's true. There's beauty of self-love when you are tied up, because you just don't have any more choices. You're just tied up.
That is true.
What can you do? And then you're just faced with yourself and the reality within yourself, right? And not from a place of being victim, because you know you've chosen to be there and you can stop at any moment. Because, if you're tied up in non-consensual way, it's a whole another story, because that's when you're concerned of your safety, haven't chosen to be there. But when you're doing it consensually with your partner, this is when you are tied up to be free.
Yeah. Yeah. You tied up my face too. Do you usually do that to people, or is that something you're guided in the moment?
It's both true.
I loved it.
Yeah, because I am guided in the moment what body part I want to tie right now. And it just feels intuitively like this body part is calling me. Like, I just want to go there, and I trust that instinct. At the same time, when you have 3 hours of tying, you usually end up tying everything.
Yeah, I bet. Everything's going to get a little action. Yeah. So, what journeys have you seen other people take in their lives that have made you really joyful because of their Shibari, maybe journeys with you? Like, what have you seen transform and open up, maybe in people's relationships or something like that?
Very different. Everyone is so different, and it's amazing because it's never the same. But classic example is ability to trust and surrender. I had a man who was in the military, and he was so conditioned and trained not to trust anyone. Like, let go and let God was not his thing at all. He was on guard. He was really vigilant, very vigilant.
Wow.
And this is exactly why his wife actually was the one who encouraged him to come for this journey. And she was present with us. And she told me that, look, he would not let me even hug him from behind. That's how vigilant he is. And I want him to soften a bit. And he said, yes, I want to soften too. So he started going to different journeys. He also did some plant medicine explorations. But when he came for Shibari, he was really needing that experience to trust and know that he will be safe and that we will take care of him. And there was a beautiful moment of me holding his hand before even tying and just placing my hand on top. And that was his moment of decision making. He just first tensed up and then he decided to make a different choice just to try it. And then I just tied one hand to itself. And then we waited a bit longer for his nervous system to settle. So every step was so gradual until he felt completely free to be tied up in any possible way. And he was releasing lots of emotions. And stayed in touch with both of them afterwards. And then they say like their intimacy completely changed after that. He allowed her to take over. He allowed her to lead the way more. He would allow her to take care of him ultimately, because by not allowing surrender and trust, that's when we are not allowing others to take care of us.
Yeah. Wow, that's such a good story. That's so powerful. You made such a difference in their lives. And who knows, the ripple effect that that's going to have, like the way that they treat others. Who knows? That's so incredible.
Yeah, it's a common intention for people to come for the Shibari exploration is to trust, to let go, to surrender. I like to ask people's intention before the journey to see what is their deepest why. Why are we here? What's really bringing you? And one of the most common answers, I want to trust. I want to surrender. And that goes without saying that actually it starts from themselves, trusting themselves to choose this journey, trusting themselves to choose me as a practitioner, and then trusting themselves that they can say yes or no, because it's really important that people can speak up in the process. It's not that they surrendered once and that's it, I take over and they have no say. No. They actually need to be in charge of their experience. Yeah. Even when they're surrendering, they know they can always change the experience. They can stop, they can direct it, divert it, go to a different direction. And that's them trusting themselves, that they are capable and able. So this is my work, to help people understand their power, and that surrender is not about surrendering to something external. It's actually a deep internal process that they are surrendering to themselves, their experience, their needs and boundaries and desires. And that's just the deeper work of self-exploration.
That's such a cool thing to point out. Because we don't think about it that way, but ultimately it is about that self-trust. And I've been working on surrender and the self-trust piece of it and all that. And so for me, that was a big part of my intention, but just pointing it out in that way is so powerful. Really, truly.
I want the journey to be empowering to people.
Yes.
And I don't want them to make it about me. Like I did the beautiful journey and they did nothing. No, it's actually them orchestrating the experience, them choosing me, them negotiating with me, them connecting to themselves and communicating their experience with me, because what I'm giving, it's not born in a vacuum. It's born from their intention, from their responses, because I'm present. I don't script the journey.
Right. I mean, they had to show up and drive themselves there. And I think for me too, it was interesting because I had seen you do some Shibari work, maybe at Kimmy's play parties or some other things like that, or maybe online too. And I didn't know really anything about it at all. I had barely heard the word Shibari and I kind of looked into it, but I didn't know why I was drawn to it and why I was interested. And yet I was willing to say yes to it anyway. And I think there's something to point out there too, like trusting yourself to follow where maybe your intuition is guiding you and you don't know necessarily why you're even interested. But it was the right thing for me, and so anyway, I don't know that there's necessarily a question there, but
The beautiful recognition of your intuition and your ability to follow it.
I'm better at it now. I mean, I've worked at it. It's a muscle, right? That you get better at using through doing things like this too. You just get better and you get better at trusting yourself. And so that's really cool too, though. I think it's important to point out, follow those instincts or at least get curious about them. Yeah. What do you find yourself getting curious about nowadays as far as your own growth?
Oh, beautiful, beautiful, very broad question.
It is very broad. I have no clue what you're going to say.
What the word that comes through is integration, because I am really good at peak experiences. I can go into peak experience through my orgasms, through my surrender journey, through my spiritual retreats. Like I go to different kinds. I go to more quiet, like Vipassana, and I go to more like Zen Buddhist of self-inquiry with koans. And I'm I can just get there, like to that place of oneness and unity. And for me to live this embodied life of oneness and unity with myself and the world around, that's the journey. That's the bigger journey that I'm focusing on. How can I bring more of this oneness, godliness into this concrete reality of being human with all sorts of moods and struggles and rules and regulations of external world? Like, how can I be at one in harmony with all of this? And yeah, I try to bring it to every area of my life, especially the most struggling areas. As soon as I find that this is my weakest link, this is where I'm really struggling, I'm still wrapped up in my old conditioning, because I didn't come from an easy place. It was a really like a survival-based conditioning where I grew up, and then like seeing how can I bring some light and nourishment into that place. So yeah, bringing more light into my vulnerable places, just like I share it with my partners and clients.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that in you too, though. I can see that you're bringing that in, those higher states into every moment. You project that, like you give that energy and that glow, but I think that's the true work. I think that is the real growth is stepping into this hand that we're dealt, right? This you're going to have to pay the bills, and, you're going to get dirty and have to shower. Just all the things that we deal with as humans.
Yes.
And so how can we really understand that normalcy is beautiful and part of this whole thing too, and divine? So, and not trying to escape it. Right. So, to me, that's like that next level of real growth.
Yeah, my mentors, Cole and Ta, who teach psychedelic integration these days, that's what they emphasize. Integration is not optional. Integration, not optional. It's like everywhere, written all over their places, their ads, their journeys. Like integration is the most important. So
yeah, it's like in sports or something. People neglect their follow through. Like if you're playing tennis, you've got to have the follow through, and you can't just hit the ball and that's it, right? It's about like what comes afterward and really integrating it into your whole being and your whole existence. And I have loved that. Like I've found myself not meditating the way I used to. I used to be very diligent. Like I have to sit down on my mat and I have to set a timer, and, really was very disciplined and practiced about it. And now it's just part of who I am. And I'm sure that you can relate to that, right? I think that's what integration means, right? Like integrating becomes who you are.
Yeah, so the experience of trust and surrender becomes daily experience without ropes, outside of ropes.
Yeah.
How can we have that experience with life itself? Right? One thing is like allowing another human to do all kinds of unpredictable things with us, and surrendering to the experience and trust in it. Of course, being able to speak up, but still choosing to trust it. And then the same with life, because life can be quite a dominatrix.
Life can tie your face up. I mean,
oh yes, tie your face up, tie your balls up, like everything.
That's right.
And how do you respond to that? Are you responding from a place of being victim, feeling unsafe and threatened, or do you choose that life is ultimately on your side and you are ultimately responsible for your experience?
Yeah, yeah. How does this tie in with your view of God, divine source, spirituality?
Surrender is the path for me. I like surrender.
It is for me too.
To life, and knowing that there is something way greater that is in charge of this little human. And of course, sometimes it's impossible to believe it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it feels like, no, I need to do something.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not me doing it. It's not me running the show. So yeah, my belief in God is that I'm part of God and I'm not separate, and that's only a limited belief that I'm the one making decisions and planning the reality. And it's a journey to really recognize it with every cell of my being, not just in theory and intellectually. And often have this beautiful glimpses that can last sometimes for some time.
Yeah.
But sometimes there is forgetfulness. And yeah, I feel like these journeys, such as the surrender journeys, vulnerability journeys, intimacy journeys, are an opportunity to get reminded. And I want to bring it into as many aspects of my life as possible, and my lovemaking in particular. I want that to be the same, not just me doing things to you because that's how we want it and how it's supposed to be, but inviting something greater to lead us, to lead the way, and open up that it can look absolutely different this time as compared to previous times when things seem to work. No, this time it will be completely from a scratch, and let's see where the flow takes us.
I love that so much. And I think that like exploration is so important in a relationship. Justin and I have noticed that for ourselves. And we're like, oh my gosh, every time we do something different, we do, and like, it's so cool to not just go through the motions in life, or, I guess they say, or maybe Kimmy says it about, the way you have sex is the way you live life, or who you are in the bedroom is who you are outside the bedroom. So yeah.
This podcast is sponsored by Wands. Wands creates luxurious pleasure practice tools that help people become more connected to their bodies. They have a huge selection of incredible items like yoni eggs, the most gorgeous crystal pleasure wands you've ever seen, free bleed blankets, and my favorites, the trademarked glass cervix wand and the Venus wand, which is their heaviest wand made of stainless steel, and their new ecstatic vibrator. This company is woman-owned and creates products designed to help you become more connected to your body and your pleasure and support the healing of pelvic pain. Get yours today in their always discreet packaging at wands.com. That's Wands with 2 A's, WAANDS.com, and use my link in the show notes to get 10% off, or enter the code Amy Edwards at checkout. Again, that's Wands, WAANDS.com. The Amy Edwards Show is sponsored in part by Higher Dose. Higher Dose creates wellness tech for everyone with tools, supplements, and body care. And I have 15% off for you with my code MAGIC15. Higher Dose has been featured in Goop, Glamour, Elle, Vogue, Bazaar, Allure, and more. I have their infrared pulsed electromagnetic field, or PEMF mat, which emits electromagnetic waves that mimic natural frequencies found in nature, stimulating and encouraging your body's natural recovery process. It also has 20 pounds of crystals in it and has shown to ease chronic pain, aid in exercise recovery and circulation, deepen your meditations, reduce stress, and improve total body relaxation. I also love their red light face mask. It stimulates collagen, reduces fine lines, regenerates cells, and it's soft and easy to use and store and even travel with. I'm a true fan of these items and more, like their glow serum. So I'm excited to offer you 15% off using my code MAGIC15. Go to the show notes. You can click through on the link right there. Or if you go to Higher Dose, just enter the code MAGIC15 for 15% off. HigherDose.com. This podcast is sponsored by The Collective ATX. If you're looking for the best in hair extensions, it's The Collective ATX. They do mine, and I won't go anywhere else. I've tried them all over the years, and finally, I've found what makes my real hair stronger and fuller, and even works with my natural curl. They keep all their extensions in-house, so there's no wait, and they specialize in no damage to your natural hair like traditional hair extension methods. Plus, they're pros at color and covering gray. I have literally never in my life been happier with my color. They were named a top 200 salon by Salon Today in 2023. They've changed my hair journey. Let them change yours. The Collective ATX. Link is in the show notes.
What are some of the transformative experiences that you think were key in leading you to where you are now, besides like turning into a dom and Shibari?
Transformative experiences. Well, but I'm having a sweet memory of how I ended up moving to Austin. It wasn't in my plan. I never thought I'll end up in Texas.
No, I'm sure you were like, Texas, that's like horses.
Cowboys and really narrow-minded people. That was
yes, we have those too.
Somehow I'm lucky not to see that. It's actually, I'm surprised that people welcomed me so beautifully and people are so open-minded and just generous and curious and just really sweet people around me here.
I love that.
Yeah, but the way it happened is that was the end of my dominatrix career, but I didn't know that yet. I did a psychedelic journey with my friends who were like on a very spiritual wavelength, and we did a beautiful consecration, asked divine consciousness to share some guidance towards us, to what's our next steps, where are we heading in life. And then I had this divine revelation. You need to close your play space, your dungeon. And I had a dungeon space in Manhattan, and it was very trendy, cool. I had the best clients, the best colleagues. Took me so long to put it together. I was at the peak of my dominatrix career.
Wow.
No, what are you talking about, really? That was the revelation. Trust. You need to close it. You need to close it right now. And I remember I was resisting. I could clearly feel that was the voice was coming from the highest dimension possible. I just knew it in the moment. And still but how? What am I going to do? I'm going to go back to the office. Where am I going to leave? Because it's my home. My play space everything was so intertwined. My whole life was about that. And it kept repeating, just trust me.
I'm sure people thought you were crazy too. Like, what? You're going to do what?
Why would you do it? And then I'm crying and I'm resisting. My friends come to me and they say, what is going on? What scares you the most about this new choice? It tells you to do it. Trust it. What's the worst that can happen? And of course, my scarcity brain from Soviet Russia comes on board and says, he will die, starving under the bridge, and then I'm telling this to my friends as I'm crying, and my friends take me to their fridge, open it, this fridge is always available for you, and then they take me to a spare room in their house, this room, if you're ever homeless, you can sleep here. And I'm just looking at my friends and I'm just overflown with gratitude. This is another sign from universe that universe will take care of me. And I just trusted. I took this leap of faith. I closed everything within a month. I said goodbye to all my clients, closed that play space, didn't extend the lease. Everything was closed. And that's exactly when COVID happened. And that pandemic happened and I ended up in Thailand because I just gave up my place in New York and I was looking for inspiration and I was in Thailand. And then this happened and thank God it happened exactly at the right time because I would be stuck in New York with all of this. And this was exactly when I was in this open space. Everything is available. Everything is possible. Let universe guide me where I need to be. And there's this woman reaching out to me out of nowhere on Instagram with one message: Austin needs you. And I don't know who she is. I ask her, and she just organizes my first retreat where I teach Shibari in Austin. And I ask her, why do you do this? Why did you do this for me? Because she really did it for me. Mm-hmm. And she says, oh, don't worry. Later, people will be coming to me saying that they're grateful that I brought you to Austin. Yep. This is Cole and Ta who brought me to Austin. They're the masters of psychedelic integration, and they just knew that it just has to be this way. It was just their pure intuition and instinct, nothing else. And that was it. That was my transformational experience that just came to my mind that changed my life entirely. Just following that guidance that can come through people, through things, through places. And trusting this intuition because we all have it, and just so often we numb ourselves and we are too afraid to listen to it because the familiar script is familiar. We've been there. We could just go through the same.
Or you just get too busy,
get too busy, you just do the same thing. And I remember I could have stayed at that comfort zone that I created for myself in New York. It took me a long time to do it. I could have just stayed and continued the same way, but life had an upgrade. I trust that life is full of upgrades. There's always the next level, and we need to be able to let go of the previous level. Yeah. So that's my transformational experience, a lot about letting go.
How do you come back around? Do you ever have moments where you feel limited? Probably, if that Russian scarcity mindset comes in. How do you break out of that when you find yourself in that space for a minute?
I take my time to come to my core spiritual beliefs about the life and God being abundant. And that I'm limited in the way I see things. Even if I already expanded many, many, many times, there is always the next level. And trusting that life has the best prepared for me. It might look different. Sometimes it looks scary, frightening, like everything is breaking, falling apart. I'm feeling shaky. There is the ground disappearing underneath me. But trusting there is something greater that holds it all together.
Just like returning to that, right? Your truth.
Yeah, and I feel like that what really helped me is those transformational experiences of falling apart. They came to me in different ways through extreme sports. That's one of my passions of doing jumping off cliffs with parachutes and free diving. Like these are experiences of trust and falling apart. The experiences of psychedelics, the experiences of tantric sexuality, where I'm invited to just open up fully and allow things to happen in the way they want to flow. And BDSM journeys where I was on the receiving side, where I trust someone to inflict a certain new reality that can feel frightening in the moment, challenging, painful, scary, new, different. And I feel like having a lot of those experiences bring about this courage. To surrender to a bigger life when some big challenge in life comes. And ultimate challenge will be to ultimately die, to watch this body decay and die. And of course, all these attachments to strengths, to use, to beauty, to power, be able to let go of that, because life ultimately will take it away. There will be the ultimate dominatrix. I call her Kali. Kali is the goddess of death and time and ultimate transformation. She will take it all away. And might as well befriend her because I cannot resist her.
Yeah, might as well. Wow. You mentioned orgasms, sexuality. I feel like a while back I was looking at your social media and you had mentioned some things about opening up in orgasmic spaces. And I was wondering if we could talk about that a little bit, because and I don't know if you were coaching women or what exactly, because I didn't review it before we started this. Sorry. I didn't know I was going to talk about this.
And now it's going to be fresh.
And so, but it was about squirting and so I thought maybe we could have like a brief conversation about that and how you view that, because I feel like the things you were saying, I really related to. So I was wondering if you would speak to that. What was the reel that I was seeing? I think it was one of your pinned ones.
Yes, I teach women to open up to their full orgasmic potential.
Yeah.
I know that so many women are completely unaware. They don't know their way. They think something is wrong with them, something is broken with them. They treat sexuality as duty or as performance. And I find a passion to teach women in this direction because it's so familiar to me. I grew up in a culture where sexuality was used as a tool. And Russian women are honestly notoriously known for that because they are trying to be as beautiful as possible to get things they want. And that's unfortunately the conditioning. Luckily, it's changing slowly. That is just how powerless we are in so many other realms of life. That's the only power we get to use. And then sexuality becomes transactional. We get it to impress someone, to perform, to get things we want, attention and love and approval and recognition. And sexuality is the power that can get us that. And yet there is so much more depth and beauty in it. So going from that into something deeper has been a great journey for me. As I grew up in post-Soviet Russia, like sex is shamed, and yet sexuality is used. And it's been a conflict in me, like how come being sexy and all the slut shaming around, and yet we get things through that. So we get attention and love and recognition when we are beautiful and sexy and desired. And I've been trying to reconcile it for a while, and I was lucky that I came to Thailand to a tantric yoga school where sexuality is experienced as a doorway to God, to divine consciousness. And I could not understand, wow, this is entirely different. Nothing ever was like this in my life. What does this mean? And then I was explained, and as I studied in school, all the chakras and energies, and this tantric practice of energy sublimation, where you take energy from your lower chakras and you start bringing them higher. And this is how our orgasmic energy can take us to different states of consciousness. So I've learned that new forms of orgasms, like going from clitoral orgasm to deeper forms of orgasms, are not about different technical stimulation that can get us more pleasure, but it's more about shifting gears from physical reality to go into emotional, to energy, and to see how that energy can open up into oneness and unity with everything. So the highest form of orgasm is ultimately oneness with everything.
Like get into space.
Yeah. And how is it possible to achieve it, right? And then you go there through your body. So tantric path is actually passed through your body. First, honoring your body, taking care of your body, loving your body. And that opens up new levels, new dimensions, new ways to enter to cosmic states of consciousness. So there are different spiritual paths can be going straight into this cosmic place without honoring your body. But we live in the embodied reality where we are in this body, and this body is part of this greater nature around us. So that's why it's so important. So tantric sexuality is teaching us to honor our physical body and to be able to use sexual energy to not only to access greater pleasure, but also to have that pleasure have greater meaning.
I love that. Yes. And that's been a real journey of my own personally. And I can relate to a lot of what you're saying. And I was surprised. I think I beat myself up in that way of, oh, I'm not doing it right. Like, why am I in my late 40s and I still don't have this down, you know? And I think that no matter where somebody is, it's important to emphasize it's okay. You just are where you are. And just being tough on yourself isn't going to serve the opening up to this divinity, this sexual path to God, this tantric path to the divine, right?
It sounds also really paradoxical, but like chasing your pleasure and pushing it hard is actually going to take you further away from it. But when you surrender to the reality that's already there, it's already present in the body. Like, yes, my body likes this touch, doesn't like this touch. My body enjoys it here, but here it doesn't. Just surrendering to that and just being with that and honoring it without trying to change it. This is what allows our body to open up to more pleasure.
Yeah, I wasn't even in tune with what I liked and what I didn't like. And that was even steps for me to understand the possibilities and like that it doesn't have to be, it just doesn't have to be anything that I had thought it had to be, you know, and learning that there's no wrong way. And so it's been a real path for me. And so I think people could probably get a lot out of maybe tuning into some of the things that you talk about on your social media, because you were talking about multiple orgasms, you were talking about squirting, all that kind of stuff. And people could, at least I say people, I have gotten very up in my head about all that stuff. And just being able to relax serves me so much better.
It's good to have a map of pleasure that we have these spots, and we have A spot and G spot and P spot and cervix, and like squirting can happen from A and G spot. And it's good to have a map, but map is not the territory ultimately. Ultimately, we let go of the map. Initially, map is helpful because we can have an idea, okay, this is where I can touch myself, this is where I can ask my partner to touch me, and we can explore what it feels like. Okay, let's go around all this yoni map. We can go starting from K spot, Kundalini spot, we can go towards P, posterior pharynx. Okay, then we can go here and here.
What's K spot?
K is the one towards perineum, from the entrance down towards perineum.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that spot.
It's a very relaxing spot.
Oh my gosh, it's one of my faves. Okay,
I didn't know it had a
name. Okay.
Yeah, we just,
How did I
guess
that?
Names are given just so we have a certain idea. It's not like a universal name, but we just needed to have a map and case for Kundalini.
Okay.
Because this is where Kundalini is born from, your perineum area. This is the root chakra.
Yes.
This is earth energy. We need to first honor earth before going high into the sky. So that's why K-spot is a good starting place when we are exploring inside of your yoni. So K-spot is the earth energy that is gives potential to everything else. And it's usually feeling very grounding and safe, this kind of state of relaxation. It's kind of the opposite from explosive orgasms. See, orgasms can look so different. It can be achieved through deep, deep relaxation. Like sometimes it's a really sudden unity of earthly and divine realms that can feel like, wow, unicorns, rainbow, bada boom, screaming, like explosions, squirting. And it can look like that. But at the same time, we don't want to be attached to that because it can actually it can be accessed through K-spot. And K-spot brings us to a place of melting. And then you end up in that final orgasmic destination, but so gradually. You just don't even notice how you got there, but you are in that calmness of unity. And that final destination is there. It just looks really quiet.
Yeah. Yeah, I can relate to that. What's the P spot?
And posterior fornix, it's a bit further inside from K. It's still bottom bottom vaginal bottom of the vaginal wall. Like it's down from the entrance, but it's further away and it's right underneath cervix. And this is where we are approaching fiery energy slowly. Because K spot is still kind of this earth like vroom, like kind of digging into the ground. That earthly stability, calmness, dissolution, safety. And then going towards P, it's like, we're picking up some energy. Okay, something starts to get stirred up. And every orgasm experience differently, like because each one of those spots is orgasmic. And yet I don't want to even give like precise definition because there are variations. There is similarities. Yeah, K tends to be more melting, relaxing, safe, and upper area like cervix and up can be more explosive and wild. And at the same time, every woman will describe it somewhat differently, but yeah, each one of those spots can be orgasmic. And yeah, it's important to remember that map is not the territory. That ultimately, after exploring your yoni through this mapping process, you just let go. And then your body will lead the way how things need to happen. Just like an artist, you learn the keys when you're playing instruments, you learn about colors when you're painting. And then once you have those skills, you just let go of them, and then the whole new piece of art can be invented without even thinking of that.
That's one of my favorite quotes. I can't remember who it is. It's a jazz artist. And he said, you learn the scales and practice the scales and practice the scales, then forget all that shit and just play. And it's just like, exactly. You know?
In my sexuality, I don't think about yoni mapping anymore. Like I already passed that process. I explored. Great. I know where the spots are, how they feel. But once I make love to a partner who is the right kind of partner, that's the last thing out of my mind.
Yeah.
I'm completely out of my head and things are just flowing. That's the ultimate destination of sexuality where we just don't think. Yeah, initially when there are struggles, it's good to identify, this is the spot that is struggling. Let's give more love and attention to like P spot. That's the one that feels a little stuck, a little tense. Let's give some love to it. Let's listen to its story. Great. But once it's already resolved, like this is where we can just play.
Is that what the right kind of partner is?
No, the right partner is the intuitive one, the one that's not overthinking me, that doesn't come to see me with a script and just flows.
A goal in mind.
A goal, like I should give her that many orgasms and then I will feel good about myself.
Way too much pressure. Absolutely not.
Yeah,
ego.
Not in the opposite way too, that he thinks only about his pleasure, but more like let's get creative and playful and let's see where it takes us. Yeah, I feel like that's one of the greatest qualities of a lover is being fully present. Maybe today we feel like cuddling and falling asleep together, and that's all we need. And we want to honor that without feeling that it's a failure.
Yeah.
And also love expressive partners, the ones who are able to communicate beautifully. That's what's really happening.
Yeah, absolutely. Communication is so key. Well, we are getting close to the end. So what did we miss that we really needed to cover today? And if there isn't anything, then what would you like to maybe end on today?
I feel like connecting with the audience and recommending to explore more that Shibari is really not so technical as people think. Like, of course, you can take it to these dimensions of suspension where things get more technical. But ultimately, when you're playing with your partner with ropes, it can be so simple. Just wrapping your partner's body with a rope, and that's it. just doing it in a playful, creative way without needing to know harnesses and techniques, just playing with that. And just so many people think that in order to practice rope, needs to be so much preparation, such a great skill and technical learnings. But no, it's actually a lot more simple than that. So I want to recommend whoever is listening, if it feels intuitively resonant, just grab rope, play with your partner, see where it takes you.
Yeah, that's true for so many things, right? Like we overcomplicate it or make it much more difficult than it has to be. I mean, say somebody wants to start a podcast, like I'm like, just start. Like the important thing is what you're curious about and honoring that. And then I love that because I was thinking I needed to buy special Shibari rope, and then Justin needed to maybe watch some YouTube videos or review what you did or something. I don't know. And like, it like we can overcomplicate and we can just bring it back down to, have fun with it, enjoy something, and just keep it simple.
Yeah, so that's the overall recommendation. Try it, explore it, play with it in the realms of sexuality, yoni massage and linga massage. Just go playfully.
Yeah.
There is no necessity in learning so much before starting to play. Start gradually, slowly. And of course, if you feel called to greater learning, then the resources are there.
Yeah, it's not going anywhere. That reminds me of what I forgot earlier that I was going to say. You were talking about when you forget and then you have reminders and you come back. And I think I've gained a new appreciation for forgetting, which is, it's kind of ironic that I forgot in that moment, but now I'm remembering. But I think I've gained a new appreciation for forgetting. Like it's such it's part of remembering. Like, how are we ever going to remember if we never forgot in the first place? And so it gives us like a new appreciation for like those spaces when we get to remember.
Oh, I love this. Yeah, treating forgetfulness as a blessing.
Yeah, because then you
You're blessed to forget because that's when you're blessed to remember and appreciate it even more.
I just got chills. Yes, I love that. It's so cool. Well, share please, and this will all be in the show notes. Share how everyone could possibly reach out to you, work with you, maybe book their own Shibari journey. I don't know if there's different prices on that. If anybody's curious about prices, if you ever share that, because people might be curious. It's, it's like paying for a really good 3-hour therapy session, I would say, or 4-hour or 5-hour, because you do also do an intro call and an integration call too, which is beautiful.
It's important to treat it as a kind of as a coaching container, as a ceremonial journey.
For sure.
Because we want to get to know each other. We want to establish a good rapport, to discuss boundaries, communication, desires, and how intention is the most important. Yes, why are we doing this, the greater why. So we spend some time on that, then the journey itself, and then aftercare, because someone might feel quite spacious, spaced out, emotional. It can be different ways someone can feel at the end. So I definitely never want to rush anyone out. I want to spend some time
I was super tired. I was really tired afterwards, and I think I wanted to take a bath when I get home, but I think I went to bed really early and was just very tired. And then I took a bath the next day. Yeah.
We want to treat it as we treat a proper ceremony, because we might feel different things. Yeah. Tiredness is really common.
Yeah.
Then it's just taking a nice rest.
Yeah.
And then following day, connecting to see what was important and to bring insights into actions. So this way we can take away something from this experience. I want this journey to have a lasting effect, not just, oh, that was great, let's move on, but actually to have some learning, some insights, some release, so then something changes in life for the better.
Yeah.
So I love to offer Shibari journeys. They can have suspension or no suspension, depending on the person, and treat it as a ceremony. So definitely reach out to me if you're curious about such experience. I also like to teach Shibari in groups and in private. So sometimes couples call me in to teach them in their privacy of their home. Sometimes I like to teach at different events. So Kimi, the one that we mentioned, she has her events. I love to teach there. So you can just follow me on my website, through newsletters or social media, so you can stay in touch for different events for the groups. So The upcoming one will be at end of January, will be Intimately Tied, one of my favorite Shibari offerings, which starts with Shibari theatrical performance and going deeper into learning the energy of it, the connection, how to flow, how to use elements, fire, air, water, and earth as an inspiration to flow with your partner. So this is where I teach Shibari from less technical side. And this is the rarest thing to find, because everywhere I go for Shibari classes, it's very technical. So mine is quite the opposite, as little as possible to learn technically and to go as deep as possible through connection, which does not have to be about your intimate partner only. You can connect with so many different peoples on different levels. You can find a unique level of connection with every new individual. So that's why I like to have a group, so you get a chance to connect with different humans and find, wow, there is a different way to connect with this person. And there's an entirely different way to connect with this person. And this is how it feels to tie. And this is how it feels to get tied up. So you get a full spectrum of experiences. This is one of my favorite
I can tell.
offerings.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, this is the one that brought me to Austin. This is what Cole initiated for me. She said, Intimately Tied. She got me this domain and she says, this will be your baby. You will develop it and take it to the moon. Like, perfect. And this is the one I really love. So yeah, connect with me. Rina_Trevi is my Instagram. It's on the show notes, and vulnerabilitycoaching.com is my website.
Yes.
This is where you can find me. I also love offering yoni massages for women to discover their full orgasmic potential. And also I teach facilitators how to give yoni massages.
Oh, wow.
My mentor already initiated to do this with me, and we have started 2 years ago, and we bring groups of women together to teach them how to give yoni massages, because more women need to receive it. I have so many women reach out to me for yoni massages, and that just shows that the world is ready for it. More and more women want to embrace their sexuality, their pleasure, their capacity to speak up about themselves and share what they like, what they don't like. So this is something I love to share with women.
I'm so glad to hear that. I mean, because we're having these conversations, everyone's talking about it more. I'm glad that people are really stepping into this. It's so great to hear. It's exciting.
I feel like it's about to be normalized. The world is going in that direction.
Too.
And this is also why Austin feels so amazing. It
right?
feels very friendly, welcoming towards that. I just never felt more at home, because I can share those things in the open and I don't receive any judgment for it.
Keeping it weird. That's right.
Yes.
That's what we're here for. Yeah, I love it.
I love your openness to speak about this on your podcast.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, and you know what? It pushes me, and that's good. That's good. Like, I'm all about it. So good. Thank you so much. Thank you for the way you show up in the world, and for doing this today and sitting down with me, and the Shibari gift that I got from you. It was just so beautiful, and I value it so much. So thank you so much, Rina. Yeah.
For recognizing it, and this conversation was just flowing, really.
So beautiful.
It was so much pleasure.
Yeah. I feel high. I feel high. Like, it's so weird. While we were sitting here talking, I was like, wow, am I high right now? Like, I feel really like, whew, feels good. That's good energy. You put out good energy. And if you want to connect with Rina, please do. Everybody, thank you for showing up today. You are upgrading just by showing up and listening to this and expanding a little bit in every way. And then who knows when this may be right for you, or you may have something come up in your life and you say yes, and you trust your intuition and you expand that self-trust even more. There are no limits to it, and keep showing up in these amazing ways, and reach out to Rina or check the show notes, follow her. Who knows what's going to come up for you that you might just step into the way I did. So thank you so much for being here. Please follow the show and share it with a friend. Have conversations around it. That's so exciting to do. I love that part of growth, when we start the conversations like we were just saying. I feel high again right now, just saying this right now. It's weird. Maybe you do too. So I love you so much. Thank you for being here. Find everything else at amyedwards.info. And I love you so much. Till next time. Thank you so much for being here. Please rate, review, and follow us. And we'd love to hear your feedback. Keep shining bright.